Welcome back to the Cyber Playbook for Business. I'm your host, Corey Bilton. Over the last 3 weeks, we've been running a series that started because of one specific article. And the article was written by today's guest, Paul Green. And his advice was simple. If you want your business to grow fast, take a full week off every 2 months. I read it and I love the idea. And I tried to do the same version of it myself. And I completely messed it up. I went to the cottage. I brought my laptop. I answered messages. I opened up Outlook. I was half working the whole time. Then we talked about the cost of burnout and why nobody wants to be the richest person in the graveyard. So today we have Paul Green on the show, Paul, and how to help us move past the excuses and talk about how business owners can actually pull this off. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited.
We're so excited to have you on. Paul, I don't know if you know this, if you've ever seen or ever listened to the podcast, but first off, you are my very first guest. And number two, this is the first video version of the podcast we've done. So kind of a big deal both ways. So very, very proud to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. And it's awesome to be first of anything. As you know, I'm a podcaster myself, and to hear that you're doing such a great job every week, and your podcast is such interesting content. It's really hard. People who don't podcast don't realize how hard it is, and I think you're doing a fantastic job. So yeah, please keep it up. Keep it up.
Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate that. So, Paul, in your article, you wrote about taking a trip to Krakow. Is that correct? Krakow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Krakow. You took it with your daughter and you wanted to truly step away. I tried taking time off the cottage, as I told you. I brought my laptop and didn't do anything. Why is half working actually worse for an owner than just staying at the office?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And you know, what we're talking about here is almost the curse of any business owner. And I am going to answer your question, but I'm going to go back a couple of steps.
Absolutely.
So I've been a business owner for 20 years. How long have you done now, Corey?
I'm 17 years now.
17 years. Okay. So, it's more or less the same, isn't it? Once you've got past the first 3 years, you as business owners, if you do 3 years and you're still smiling and they haven't locked you away, then you're pretty much going to be a business owner the rest of your life, right? I think that's guaranteed. And those of us who are business owners, we know why, because when we start the business, we're doing something for someone else, whatever it is that we do. And we love what we do, but we want a bit more control. We want a bit more control over who we do it for, how it's done, and why we do it. And that's why we start the business. And, a surprisingly large number of people start a business and hate it, because as you and I and everyone listening and watching know, you start the business for that control over that thing. And then suddenly you've got 5,000 other things that you have to get really good at. And so, some people thrive in that. People like us thrive in that. Other people don't thrive. And that's fine. That's no judgment. It's just how we are as people. But then, so once you've done a couple of years, and those early years, by the way, are the honeymoon years. And you know this. I'm sure you sit sometimes and you look back at those early years and you think, oh, those were the best times. Even though I didn't have any money, I had absolutely no time. I didn't know if it was going to work out or not. It just felt like you were in control of your destiny. So this is important context, because this is how everyone starts this way. And by everyone, I mean normal business owners. I don't mean those people that go and raise 3 billion in VC funding and private equity. That's a whole different world. I don't talk about that. I'm talking about your average mom and pop business, right? Which is what actually 80% of all the businesses on this planet are those kind of businesses, just normal businesses with people working hard to make a living. So that's how we get started. And we learn early on that the more we work and the more mental time we put into that business, the more we get done and the faster it grows. And mental time is the big one there. So we basically spend 2 to 3 years learning really bad habits. And those habits are working too much, doing, and I'm sure you've done this, Corey, that whole I'm just going to do this. You say to your other half or your kids, I'm just going to do this, right? And that then becomes normal. So basically the extreme behavior that it takes to start a business becomes normalized. And your other half and your kids and your friends, they get used to not seeing you, or if you are physically there, that you're mentally not there because you're thinking about the business or you're exhausted or whatsoever. So that's all that context is really important, because it explains why You're not normal. I'm not normal. Every other business owner on the planet is not normal. But then you get 10, 15 years in, 20 years for me, 17 years for you. And what has happened is that behavior has been so normalized that we find it really difficult to switch back to normal behavior. So, Corey, I'm guessing you were an employee before you started your business.
You said it. Yeah, definitely was.
Yeah. And if you'd have taken a 1 or 2 week like vacation break back when you worked for someone else, you didn't expect to do any work, did you? You expected to just go away, have a complete break and enjoy yourself because that's your holiday. Right.
That's right.
So we forget as business owners that that's normal. And what happens is because we're control freak, because every business owner is some level of control freak, because it's our baby and our passion, and we don't do it for money. If we did this just for money, we'd all just give up and go and get a job because there are easy ways to make money. But it's the control, the freedom that we're trying to create for ourselves, what we're trying to create as a legacy, our passion, our baby. It's all of that wrapped up with all the non-normal behavior. So when we go away on a holiday, even if you've got a team, right? I've got 14 in my team. How many have you got in your team?
There's 7 of us total.
7 of you. Okay, so those are big enough teams to operate without us, right? And I know you Corey, you've systemized your business so it can operate without you. I'm exactly the same. And yet, what we do is when we're packing for that holiday, we think, I'll just take my laptop just in case. And that's the moment it all goes wrong. So when I went to Krakow with my daughter's 16, which means, and there's just me and her. So I'm a sole parent. So there's just me and her on holiday. I know I've only got a couple more years before she's not going to want to come on holiday with me. So these holidays are more important than they've ever been. It's no longer just routine. And I had to stop myself from doing the whole, I'll just take my laptop. And instead I took my iPad. So I was actually intending to do a webinar that I was booked to do that week and didn't happen for various reasons. But I thought if I take my iPad is not my work device. My laptop is my typing, doing work device. My iPad is what I watch Netflix on. But I can do the webinar on it. So there was a kind of a halfway house. If to me the iPad is not a work thing, but the second you go on holiday and you take your laptop and you or you say to your office, oh, we're only going to the beach. We're only doing this. We're only doing that. If there's a problem, call me. It's wrong. The instructions should actually be if you detect my laptop, like GPS track my laptop. If you detect my laptop in the holiday vacation, I want you to remotely access it and destroy it. Right? That should be the instruction to your staff. If you phone me and I answer, I want you to go around to my house and steal my car or something. You know, we shouldn't. You know what? We shouldn't take the phone. We shouldn't take the laptop. We shouldn't take the whatsoever, because we set ourselves up for failure by because we've got bad habits and all of the things we've just talked about. The second we take our laptop or we make it acceptable that you can call me, then we've screwed it up. The office should only call if the building burned down. And I don't mean that. I know it sounds like a funny British joke. It's not. You genuinely, the only reason you should call me is if the building is going to burn down. And by that, we mean the biggest client is genuinely desperately unhappy, or, you know, someone's been hurt, or it's a 1 in 10 year moment, and which do happen. Those things do happen. And you as a business owner would want to know. But do you know what? I can't find this. So-and-so wants their invoice. This person's grumbling about that. No, that's the kind of stuff we want. And that only happens through training and systems. So we have set up systems to run the business without us, and we train our staff to run those systems. And that's it. And by the way, all of that, which sounds so simple, is really hard to do because non-normalized behavior, control freak, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And do you find, on many occasions, my wife and I have tried doing the fasting where you get into ketosis, and it's like breaking ketosis, right? I'll just have 1 cup of coffee with a little bit of sugar. It's done like that, right? So it's again, it's that whole coming back to and understanding, having the systems in place to be confident, I guess, is part of it, in your team, to make sure they can take care of things while you're away and truly take and enjoy that vacation while you have the time to do so.
Exactly that. And actually, I've never done the ketosis thing, but if I was going to, the first thing I'd do is go through all the cupboards and get rid of the biscuits, the cookies, the sweets, the candy, the sugar, because then I've got to make an active choice to go down to the store and buy some sugar.
That's right.
Right. So, and that's why not taking your laptop away. And especially, I mean, you're an IT guy, and
Yes.
for IT people especially, not taking your laptop on vacation that's like not having a car. It's a
Exactly.
basic tool of life, right? But it's too tempting to just, I'll just go in here, or I'll just do that, or I'll just do whatsoever. Even for me, I'm not an IT guy. I run a marketing business, but having my laptop there, and when I open that laptop, it's got all my work stuff. It's not like I've shut everything down. All my work applications are open, and you the second you see Teams or whatever you're using, and the corner of your eye, you just see a client's name, or you see something, and you're like, what happened? And suddenly all of the day-to-day stuff comes back in. So I think it's all about prep, I think. And I know we're going to talk about why it's so important to get away from your business. But yes, you set up systems, you test those systems, and then you don't allow yourself to take the sugar on holiday with you. There's a really good question which I ask people, which is, if I kidnapped you tomorrow, but it's a good kidnapping, I'm gonna keep you in my house in a very comfortable room. You've got Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount. You've got the lot, right? I'm going to bring you three takeaways a day. You're going to have a great time, but you're away for a month. Your clients can't contact you. Your staff can't contact you. No one can contact you, and you definitely don't have a laptop. And for 4 weeks, what would happen to your business? And most people say, oh, if it was a week, it would be all right. 2 would be a stretch, but 4 weeks, no one's getting paid. No, this isn't happening. That's not happening. And that's when we start to realize, oh, actually, I have to be there to do that, or I have to do payroll on this date, or to do that. So when we talk about setting up systems so the business thrives without you being there, you've got to apply almost like a 4-week test to it. In fact, who was I talking to the other day? I interviewed someone the other day for my own podcast, and he'd been away for 2 weeks with his family and decided to stay up. Their family went back because his wife had to go to her job, and the kids had to go to school or whatever. But he decided to stay away for another week, and just on a whim. And I don't know how his wife felt about that, but how cool to have a business that works so well without you. You can just say, do you know what? I'm enjoying myself here in Italy or wherever I am. I'm going to stay for another week. That's got to be a life goal, right?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, what a fantastic story. And that's I think it's a dream of most business owners, and that is to get your business to that place where you can reap the rewards of building that business up and getting away. Now, on the other hand, my wife used to work for a law firm, and the lawyer at last check, he was 80 years old, still practicing, and he was in the office all the time. Not for me. I mean, I'm a world traveler. I love traveling, but some people just love and thrive work.
Yeah. I mean, that's my idea of hell. No, I don't want to retire. I don't want to retire, but I'm going to change the kind of work that I do. And I mean, let's be honest. No offense to your wife, but being a lawyer in the first place, right? That can't be. That's a lifestyle choice.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. And the irony is, the more we get away from our business and have quality time with the people we love, whoever those people are, and doing the things we love, the irony is that helps us make bigger, better decisions, which makes the business grow faster anyway. And I know that from the Poland trip that I did with my daughter, I came back and I actually course corrected the business, just perhaps 10% that way. But my own business. So I came back and I said to my team, I have a leadership team, and I said, you know what? We were looking at this. There was a really good idea, but I think I've had a better idea, and that's slightly off course. But that 10% course correction, you follow that for 3 years, and that takes you to a totally different place. And that I would never have thought of that course correction at the point we needed to make it if I hadn't had some time away. And what happened to me, which is what always happens, is the first 2, 3, 4 days, I'm a bit tired. I've still got some work stuff in my head, but I just go push it away, enjoy Poland or enjoy wherever I am. And then every day I wake up on the 4th or the 5th morning, and it's there. The thought that I would never have had is there in my head. So you don't even have to think about stuff. That's the cool thing. These thoughts just kind of crop up when you do that. But only if you have a complete break from the business. So if the day before you got dragged into a half an hour or an hour phone call about whatever problem, you've broken the spell, because your brain, which of course is the greatest pattern matching problem solving machine on the planet, but even better than AI. It's so much better. And your brain needs time to shift into a different way of thinking. And when we're caught up in the business day to day, we can't think big and strategically. We have to have time away from that.
That's you alluded to exactly the question I was going to ask you, to say, like, so the day 1, day 2, and day 3, you're still anxious, you're still fighting those work feelings, and you're not getting to where you want to be. So what you're saying is that when you get into day 4, your brain changes course, you're getting creative again. How do you personally handle that guilt in the first few days without grabbing your phone?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And the answer is Jack Reacher. That's the answer. So you must read the Jack Reacher books, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me too. I love it, and I know there's a new series, a new season due out on Prime soon. I cannot wait, and a spin-off as well. But the answer is I proactively do it. So I know the first half, I'm going to be a bit tired. I'm probably going to, if I'm due a cold, I'm going to get that cold. We all have the same things. So I pack 2 or 3 Jack Reachers or that kind of stuff. So sort of trashy, easy to read novels that don't require a lot of your brain. And that's the first half of the week. And then sometimes it's day 4, sometimes it's day 6. The day I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Then I've brought a business book. And so I've whatever new business book I've like, just recently I've been reading a lot of Alex Hormozy. And Alex Hormozy is the best, 100 million guy. He's the most genuine, authentic. He's the best small business marketing and growth thinker on the planet right now. And I say that, with not lightly, but I've not consumed a single thing of his that I haven't loved. The guy is an absolute genius. And I would say for everyone listening, watching this, go get the 3 books at the least. It's the 100 million leads, 100 million offers, 100 million money models, and then follow him on YouTube, listen to his podcast. You can't consume enough Hormozy because he just gets your brain in the right place. So for me, on that holiday in Poland, I took 100 million money models, and at the point my brain was now in, okay, I'm receptive, I'm thinking, I'm strategic. I just flick through it because I'd already read it once, and I just flick through it, and I was circling things with a pen and folding over corners and thinking, oh, that's an idea. But I'm only doing that when we're all having downtime. So I'm not pushing the family aside to just, I've got to read a book. Whereas actually when we're like, oh, we've got an hour to kill before the boat trip or whatever, and everyone's got their books out or their Instagram or whatever, I've just switched to a different book. And then I get a bit sick of it and go back to Jack Reacher. So that guilt that we all feel at the beginning is normal, but we have to find our own way. Because for some people, it's long walks, the dog, golf, whatever. You find your way. What's the thing that you do that pushes away? For me, actually, being in another country is enough. I love, same as you, I'm a big traveler. I love it. And just being in a different environment where they're not speaking your language, and it's not dollars, right? That in itself is different, and it's enough to put your brain into a different place.
That's perfect. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. That's yeah. I don't know what mine would be. I think mine would be audiobooks. I'm a big audiobook guy. Whether I'm going for a walk and listening to an audiobook, or cutting the lawn and doing that sort of thing. But yeah, like what you're right. When you get away into a different location, whether it's different country, it's the same thing. You get and pulled into that culture, I guess, and then it lets you step away from the business, and you really don't think about it. So I never thought about it like that, but no, you're 100% right. That's the way I was seeing it too. Go ahead.
And just briefly, you can replicate this at home as well. So if you have, because having a break from the business doesn't have to mean going away, leaving the country. I know we like it to, but sometimes that doesn't work out if you've got kids at school and stuff like that. So I have weeks off where I stay at home, but I never enter this room. So I'm talking to you from my office in my house, which I have set up for like filming and stuff. And if I'm on a week off, I don't do it this badly anymore, but I used to. When I didn't have the discipline, I'd put a sign on the door saying you cannot enter, no entry, because this is where I work. Whereas out there, where my kitchen and my dining room and all of that, and my child is, that's the fun place out there. So even there, having the discipline of only ever working, I do nothing in this room except work. So I won't come in here and do like personal laptop stuff. I take the laptop out. If I need to do personal stuff, the laptop comes out with me. So this room means work. And that's good, actually, because it means I only work in here. So I can't, if I want to stop working, I leave the room. And for those of us that work from home, which is, let's be honest, that's all of us now, right? In some way or another, we work from home. Having a space that's only for work is really important, and never, ever doing anything else in that space. And if you're not lucky enough to have an office, then just even having, I would do it as at my dinner table. I would have one seat that I only have sat in to do work, and all the other seats would be fun stuff. So I know if I'm sat in the work seat, I'm doing work, if that makes sense. So you can do it without going away, but obviously you've just got to make sure you fill your time as well, because if you're sat at home every day and maybe your other half's at work and your kids are at school, but you're off and you don't want to work, well, go to the cinema, go play golf, buy a dog, do something to to give you something to do. Otherwise, you will end up working by default, because that's what we do as business owners. We fall back into, I'll just do this, and it's a curse. It really is.
I'll be 5 more minutes.
Yeah, 5 more minutes. 5 minutes. Wow, how is it 9:30 at night? How did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. That's the way it happens. So you mentioned that in order to get away, or when you're away from the office and you're on day 4, you're on day 5, whether or not you're doing a staycation or whether or not you're out and about, how do you break, or what is the issue with somebody sitting and methodically coming up with something while they're working at their desk? Why do you not get that same creative flow while you're sitting at your desk, as opposed to, having that day 4 of clarity?
Yeah. I mean, some people do, just as a caveat, some people do, but I think they're the exception rather than the rule. And I think it just comes back to what we're putting into our brain. So when you're away or you're having a stay, I love the word staycation. I haven't heard that for years, that one. That's a great word. When you're doing that and you're in a different frame of mind, we're deliberately not thinking about work, because when you and I think about work, we're trapped at too low a level. So have you ever had this thing? This explains it. Have you ever had the thing where you've talked to another business owner, and it doesn't matter if they do the same kind of business as you, it just might be a buddy who's also a business owner, and they tell you about their biggest problem right now, and you think, is that it? That's easy. And you give them really good advice, right? Because all you're seeing is, well, you own a restaurant or whatever, and you've got this problem, and this is the answer. And to you, it's really simple, because you haven't got all of the 50,000 things that he has to do every day. So you don't own a restaurant, so therefore you don't have to talk to suppliers. Make sure the potatoes are fresh. Did we shut the fridge properly? Oh no, the power's gone off. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with all of that. We've had a bad review. That's gonna put revenue down 10%. Whereas in your business, you have the equivalent of that for an IT support business. So the restaurant owner looking at your business sees everything with clarity. So that basically our brains are trapped in the day-to-day, and the problem solving we're doing is very low level problem solving, especially in a business like yours, Corey, where your job is literally people are paying you to solve their problems for them and to stop those problems from happening in the first place. So it's very difficult for your brain to move up into bigger thinking. So that's the first part. The second part is we actually want our brain to go to a different part of the brain. So the immediate small problem solving, and I don't know the biology of this, but let's say it's this bit here. It's this bit of our brain. But actually the long-term bigger problem solving, that happens in other parts of the brain, and it happens while we sleep, right? So it's the whole thing. If you've ever got in the shower in the morning and you're like, oh, I always have my best ideas in the shower, right? No, you don't. What happens is when you're in the shower, your brain is delivering to you the work that it's been doing overnight. So this is a basic human biology thing. We day to day, while we're awake, we can deal with the small things that are stopping us from achieving our goals, but only the small things. Whereas the big problems, the brain works on them overnight. And when we're dreaming or whatever phase of sleep, it's allocating quite a lot of resource of the brain to analyzing and thinking about the big picture problems. But if you go to bed at 1 a.m. And you're already sleep deprived and you're getting up at 7, and 6 hours is not enough sleep. We all kid ourselves it is, but it's not. And it's Netflix's fault that we haven't gone to bed. So we're tired and maybe we've had a beer because we're a bit stressed, and you know what I mean? And we've got, I've got so much to do tomorrow. Your brain is never entering that long-term problem solving, big problem solving mode. So that's what we're trying to trigger it into. what I've just said there is there's no scientific biological facts there. If anyone goes and Googles that and says, there's no brain surgeon that's proven this, it's just based off 20 years of talking to business owners and knowing how our brains work or how our brains don't work. And the reality is, especially as we get older, and, I'm 52 now, and I found myself just slightly slowing down, which is really surprising me because I never thought that would be the case. I've always been full of energy, and actually that energy turns out to be finite. But especially as we get older, the more breaks we have from our business, the better our thinking. And it's a virtuous circle, because then we go and we implement that big thing, and that makes the business grow faster, which gives us more resources to get more people to implement the stuff for us, which is just beautiful.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. So then the business owners that are listening to us now have taken all this in, and they want to implement it, and they think they need to take the time to do this. We know that we only have so much time on this earth. Clients will come and go, money will come and go. Those are things we can replace. Time is something we cannot. How do you tell them how can they protect that personal time away from work from creeping back in while they're trying to do this? What would be your advice?
Yeah, so I think the thing that's always worked well for me in the past has been scheduling holidays or scheduling breaks in advance. So that trip to Poland was in the calendar perhaps a year before. I didn't know what I was doing. That was the key thing, but I know, and I'm quite good at the discipline now, I know in that week I'm going away. So actually when we were like 4 or 5 months out, that was when we had the discussion of what should we do in that week? Maybe that's easier for parents, because obviously as parents, you know there's only however many weeks in your territory, right, for the kids being off. So you kind of, those are your holiday times. But it's like Christmas, or if you're in the US, it's Thanksgiving, or other holidays. Those things are planned years in advance. Those dates are set aside often 10, 15 years in advance. So why don't you do that as well? And when you do that, you make it a golden rule that again you do not break that holiday unless the building's burned down, because it's far too easy to get to a week before and be like, oh, do you know what? I've got so much. Instead of that 7 days, I'll just have 3 days. But actually, instead of having 5 days off next week, I'll just have a couple of days. But actually, that's not 5 days off. That's a 9-day break, because you've got a weekend, you've got the week, and then you've got the weekend again. That's 9 days. So just taking 5 days off work gives you a 9-day break away from the business. That's where the magic happens, right? And you live longer as well.
Right.
So hang on, you live longer, you have more fun, and you strengthen your relationship with the people you love. So why do we only do that 2 weeks a year? Because we're stupid, right? Because we're caught up in the business that we give the business more of our time and our energy and our attention than we do the actual humans that we love. But the business isn't the one that's going to be by our bedside at the end. Well, if we get it really wrong, and I have this is awful, but one of my friends in the next village here, very successful business person. So if you met him in the pub, in the bar, and you started talking, he's one of those guys you'd be like, wow, you've done what? He's had all these businesses created. He's a multi-millionaire. He drives an Aston Martin. He's on paper and on the surface, he's amazing. And behind the scenes, he's just got divorced for the 3rd time. His children don't talk to him. He will be, I'm hoping he never watches this, but he will be found dead at his desk because he's working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, right? And he's 60. You can't work 60 hours a week when you're 60 without there being a consequence. And already the consequence is he doesn't have a relationship with his children. So, as you said right at the start, we all want a slightly better car and a slightly bigger house. We want to take more holidays, but none of us want to really live on a yacht, right? We're not those kind of people. So why do we carry on working? There's a great book. What's the book? I think it's called Die with Zero. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's about having enough money and getting to the end of your life and the money's gone. And that when you realize that, let's say you retire at 70, right? And whether retiring is giving it up completely or just doing something different. Let's say you do that, 65, 70, and let's say you're only going to live another 10 years. You can pretty much figure out how much money you actually need to retire with. And it's never as much as we think, right? Unless you want to spend your life on cruises, although actually cruise ships aren't that expensive, right? But even then, you know how much it's going to be. So, and I think that's what Die with Zero is about don't give away all of the valuable time in your 40s and your 50s and your 60s just to amass this massive pot of money, which you're probably not going to need in your 70s. You don't need as much as you think. And I appreciate there's healthcare costs and all of that kind of stuff, but it deals with all that. It's an American author, so it deals with the cost of healthcare and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's a great book, and it helps reposition what are we working towards? Why are we doing this? It's a great book.
That's fantastic. And this has been wonderful, Paul. And I guess the thing is too, is that you don't know how long you're going to have your health for, right? So you need to enjoy it while we're still healthy enough to be able to travel, to enjoy the time with our family. The statement I want to make here is that we don't know how much time we have. Our time is finite. So we need to enjoy that time while we have it. As you said, we need to be able to get that clarity to bring back to our business after, a couple of weeks off or a week off every 60 days. But I think you've driven that home. I'm going to give that book a read for sure.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Sounds
Can I finish with just a thought experiment, which
Please
is
do.
a really valuable thing to do?
Absolutely.
Imagine tomorrow morning you went to the doctors and you said, I've got these symptoms, and the doctor said, I'm really sorry, you're going to drop dead a year from today. There's nothing I can do. The good news is you're going to be in full health, but you only have a year, and you're dead a year today, and you're just passing your sleep. And after an initial week of shock and telling people and thinking, you would then decide what you were going to do with the last year of your life. And the thought experiment is this, and this is actually something you should only do on vacation. You shouldn't do this during a work week because your brain's not thinking the right way. What would you do with your last year? And for most of us, it's actually, I want to spend more time with these 3 or 4 people. I want to do, like, for me, I love long walks, like 40-mile walks, really big walks.
Wow.
There's a few countries I still haven't been to that would be on my list. And would I want to do some work? I want to do something. I quite like doing this. This is fun. This isn't work to me. This is fun. But would I spend 10 hours dealing with the minutiae that I've dealt with today? No. So once you know that, and as you say, you're right, we don't know when we're going to die. But if we know that we would choose to spend our last year doing this set of stuff, then we need to dedicate a little bit of time to getting rid of the stuff that we don't want to do, whether that's finding people to do it for us, or eliminating it, or saying, hey, do you know what, I'm not going to work Mondays and Fridays anymore. I'm going to have 4-day weekends every single week because that's a great life. That's the kind of outcome from that thought experiment that can completely change your life. It's amazing.
I love that. Love that so much. Thanks so much, Paul. Yeah, thanks for bringing that home.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So thanks again, Paul, for coming on, being my first guest. This has been a wonderful, wonderful episode, and looking forward to seeing you at ScaleCon in a few weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you in person.
For sure. Sounds great.